Okay, hello, Dr. Mapp, and everybody who's attending. I want to welcome you tonight to our Parent Speaker Series. We have Dr. Mapp with us, and he is going to discuss why belonging matters. And so just to give you a little bit of some, housekeeping, we have a Q&A button down at the bottom of your screen. I think it's at the bottom of your screen. And there you can type any questions you have throughout the presentation that Dr. Mapp gives. And we will answer those at the conclusion of his presentation. So I'll let Dr. Mapp give you more detail, but we are really excited to have Dr. Mapp in our district. He's now been with us for half a year, so that's been fantastic. And he is our Director of Inclusion, Equity, and Diversity. And so, Dr. Mapp, do you want to take over from here and begin your presentation?
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Lawson. Good to be with you all this evening. I hope that you all got to enjoy the afternoon. I got to step out and spend some time with my son and my family outside. And I'm just grateful that we are finally to some, hopefully this Thursday being the first non-snow day in a while, and all those good things that says that spring should be on its way here. So I'm glad to be with you tonight. I hope that you're glad to be here. As we talk about something that really is important, the idea of belonging and the importance of belonging, and why it matters in our schools here in Lindbergh. So we'll keep going. Real quick introduction of myself. I am Dr. Mapp. I'm the Director of Inclusion, Equity, and Diversity. And in short, a lot of times when I go to schools and I talk to students, especially at the elementary level, and I'm explaining, well, what do you do? I mean, they see me and I'd say I work at central office, but I get to also tell them that, I'm here to make sure that they have an environment where they feel like they belong, where they feel like they are treated with dignity and with respect. And so that's what I do. That's what I'm about doing in our schools and what I'm about doing for each and every one of our students. And that's basically how I encompass what my job is. So we'll keep going. I wanted to take a minute and really just literally drive through this placard that we actually have on each of our buildings, and it really just speaks to, honestly, it speaks to why belonging matters. It speaks to the space that we hope to create in each of our schools for our students and for our staff, and what we hope to have happen in our buildings each and every day. So it says, so please take responsibility for the energy you bring into this space. Your words matter, your behaviors matter, our students and families matter. At Lindbergh Schools, we celebrate human dignity and act with integrity. Show empathy and respect for others' thoughts, feelings, and perspectives. Develop and maintain positive relationships. And so when we think about why belonging matters, it's because it creates this space where people can be able to have conversation, where people can be able to learn, where people can be able to engage and interact with one another in a very positive way. And so we are extremely grateful for the opportunity to be with our students and to work with our staff in our spaces. And this is the work that we do to make sure that those spaces stay the best that they can be for each and every one. So we'll keep going. Real quick, to a general reminder of our work as a district. Our equity mission statement is this: that Lindbergh Schools is committed to creating and maintaining an equitable and inclusive community of belonging, where all stakeholders are treated with dignity. We strive to uphold academic standards for all students through inclusive classroom instruction, professional learning, and sustainable relationships with our community. We'll go on to the next slide. I wanted to talk specifically about the word belonging. It's something that we find very important. And honestly, the way I talk about it with our staff is that I look at it as we have two non-negotiable things around belonging, equity, around inclusion, equity, and diversity in our schools. And that is that people will be treated with, that we will create a sense of belonging for everyone, and that people will be treated with dignity. And so when we talk about belonging, this is specifically out of the book, Belonging Through a Culture of Dignity, which we've been fortunate to be able to go through this year with our authors of the book, Dr. Floyd Cobb and John Crownapple. And they define belonging as this: the extent to which people feel personally appreciated, validated, accepted, and treated fairly within an environment. And so our schools being that environment, our goal is that we have each and every student that can say that they feel like they're being appreciated, They feel like they're being validated, they feel like they're being accepted, and they feel like they're being treated fairly within our schools. And so that's our goal, and that's what we want to see happening with our schools and with our students and our parents and our staff. We want to make sure that this is a place of belonging for everyone. So when we talk about these things, I want to be able to hit each of them directly. And so when we talk about being appreciated, it means having parts of your identity admired, affirmed, and positively noticed and or represented by people, by media, and other outlets. It means, or excuse me, another example. We'll go ahead. Being validated. It's having your lived experiences, your thoughts, and your feelings be recognized and appreciated as real. Even if the other person has not experienced similar things or may even disagree with particular thoughts, it is not invalidate their work. And so really validating someone means to be able to listen to someone and hear their experiences as real without not questioning it because it's not your experience. Going on to the next one. Being accepted. Having your personhood completely embraced and regarded favorably, without conditions, attached to full belonging. You don't have to change or hide who you are to fit in. This is one of the words that reminds me of the word authentic is often what we talk about. And so we all show up in spaces trying to be our authentic selves, trying to be accepted as we are and not having to adjust or change for other people. And so that's our goal, is we want our students to be able to feel like they can be accepted. And finally, treat it fairly. Having interactions defined by fairness and justice according to your specific circumstances, which may not mean being treated the same as others to ensure access to opportunities. Fair treatment may require different approaches that do not imply a lesser standard or status of personhood. And so understanding that being treated fairly is something that, we talk about the word equity. Oftentimes it's been, reminded to us that, what does it mean to have equity? What does it mean to be treated fairly? It means to have what you need in order to be successful. And so that's really, again, that idea that fairness, treated fairly and fairness doesn't always necessarily mean it's the same. It means that it's fair given the circumstances. We'll keep going. So we talked about this last time, but I wanted to remind everyone a little bit about kind of the work and the why behind John Krahnapple and Floyd Cobb's work in the area of belonging. And so when we think about what students need to be successful as, in education, we have physiological needs that must be met. And so those are the things that we think of, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, being able to have food, being able to be in a reasonable temperature and environment that they feel comfortable. And then that idea of safety being the next step, that's step 2. We often think that if we do those things, if we make sure that students are fed, they have an environment they can learn in, and we make sure that they're safe, we basically, in a lot of ways, historically, we've expected students to then achieve. We've expected them to go on to, be proficient on the map, to be advanced on the map. And that was our goal and what we expected and how we measured success. And then eventually self-actualization kind of being like that adult step. Once we reach, adulthood, we self-actualize, we reach, the end or the whatever we think is the best for ourselves. As you notice here, what happens when we think of things that way, we actually have a big gap between being able to have those physiological and safety needs met and then being able to jump to achievement. So in the next slide, you'll see, well, what if we had this idea of belonging? So say we said that was important. You can go ahead and click one more time. Well, so maybe we say, we'll meet the physiological needs and we'll make sure that people are safe. We still want to make sure that students achieve. And oh, that's right. Let's go back. Let's make sure we have belonging in place. And so you can see here a stair step that's imbalanced, where we have achievement there. And some people will be able to do that. Some people will be able to achieve even without belonging. But if we want to truly allow all people to achieve, if we want to truly allow success for all, then we have to think about this in terms of what we'll see on the next slide, which is that we meet those physiological needs. We meet the needs of safety, and then we create a space of belonging for all. We look at and we focus on making sure that people can feel like they are valued in the space that they're in, that they are validated, they are accepted, they are treated fairly, and they are appreciated. And when we do that, it makes the achievement a much easier step to achieve. It means that I don't have to focus on trying to fit in or have this piece, fit my peers or this part be what everybody else is doing. I can actually feel like I belong in this space. And then I can just focus on the achievement piece. I don't have to focus on trying to fit in. And for some students, that's a piece of the puzzle. They have to figure out how do they fit in before they can get to that achievement piece. And so this is what our goal is. This is where we have to be able to support our students. Is we have to be able to think about physiological needs. Are they in an environment where they can learn? Do they have food? Do they have clothing? All of those things that we know are necessary for students to be able to be comfortable. And then in a different addition to comfort comes safety. And safety being the idea that I don't worry about if something will happen to me in this space that I'm in. And then being able to step into the next step and knowing that I belong, knowing that I'm in a place where I am valued for what I bring to the table, where the table needs me in order to be successful. That's what when we talk about belonging versus inclusion. Inclusion says I want you to be here because you're a part of the team. You're a Lindbergh student and therefore you're included. That's great. Beyond that, not only are you a Lindbergh student and therefore you're included, you're a Lindbergh student, you're included, you belong, meaning we are not complete without you. Our classroom community is not complete when you're not here. That is the level of belonging that we want for our students. We want them to feel connected to their classrooms, to their peers, to their students, their teachers, to where they feel that they are necessary in this environment of learning that we have created for our students. And then through that, we can be able to achieve and finally reach that self-actualization. You can go ahead. Thank you, Tony. So when we think about our work with the Core Collaborative, which is who has been working through the book that we've been talking about, this is the three keys that we talk about. And again, this is really literally basically what our mission is: to inspire a shared vision of inclusion, where we include and we create a space of belonging. That space of belonging being key two, to nurture belonging, and finally taking action to honor dignity. Dignity and humanity of individuals being important and being validated in the space in which we operate. And that is important for all of our students to be able to be included, to feel like they can belong, and to be dignified in the community in which we engage with them with. And so you can see here our three-year plan of what we will be doing as a district in regards to the Core Collaborative this year. We've had a leadership team, which has included the superintendent and some of the leadership officials at central office around training around this book and how we can implement support for belonging and dignity in our schools. In addition to that, we have a team that includes our counselors, our administrators, and our equity representatives throughout the district who've been working with John Crown Apple directly in order to, again, establish what this will look like in our buildings, each individual building, and how we will support this work for our students. Throughout next year, we plan to be able to have that implementation team working to develop our district plan for how this will be implemented throughout the district. Building by building, what will it look like if we create a space of belonging? What will it look like if students are treated with dignity? And at that same time, being able to have cohorts or smaller groups of staff members that can work together to understand those concepts and the important pieces of how this will play out and how we will be able to create this space for our students. That again would happen the next school year where we would have those staff cohorts continuing. And again, that district and building plan being implemented throughout the district. And so a year of developing it, but then a year of implementation where we are measuring belonging. We are seeing how students can, what are the students' perceptions of belonging? Is it happening for our students? Are people being treated with dignity? And we'll go on to the next slide. And so this actually came directly out of an article that was in the National Association for Secondary Principals. And it speaks specifically to this idea of how important it is to create belonging for students. And it gave these ideas of some different ways that we can do that. To routinely check in with students and make sure that they are okay and that we are supporting them to be their best selves. Creating brave, and they called it safe spaces, but I like to call them brave spaces because I believe that in order to be able to have a space where you can have conversation, where you can be your true authentic self, we have to move beyond this place of safety and go to a place of bravery where we are able to say what we believe and what we have on our mind, because we see that it will help each other grow, and we will see that it will help us create and have conversation. Being clear and explicit with students that they belong, that is important, and we can't just say that that's in our mission and assume that our students will feel that. We have to tell them that they belong. We have to work to show them that they belong. Before a quiz or a test, reminding students that it's normal to feel stressed or anxious, and helping them to reappraise those feelings as positive, and helping them and helpful, and as well as being temporary and specific to that situation. So honoring where students come in, honoring our own anxiety, our own fears and things that we go through. Some of us get anxious every time we get in the car, and that's okay. We have to be able to honor that, to know that can think of it as positive and help us be able to move forward in what we're doing. Some of us get anxious when we get ready to take a test or we have to go meet with our boss. Again, it's okay. We have to honor that those are feelings that happen for us, and help students be able to know that they're temporary and they can work through those situations. If a student hasn't demonstrated mastery on a concept, encouraging revision, giving them opportunities to work and show growth. Growth is the most important thing that we want for every individual, is that we want them to be growing throughout life and throughout their time. And that can happen throughout giving them opportunities to show that what they know. And finally, to encourage students to foster a culture of belonging among their peers. We know that our work as adults is only limited to what we can do and our influence we have. Our students' best influencers are their peers. And so how do we help them to be able to look at each other and find and show the importance of belonging each and every minute and each and every day to all of their peers? Not putting each other down, not bullying, not doing those things that show that we are not treating each other with dignity. How do we make that happen for our students? And we find that if we do the work with belonging, if we do the work with honoring dignity, that work can start happening in our schools and continue happening in the spaces in which we currently have them happening as well. On to the next slide. So here you can actually see, this is a class over at Truman. We were fortunate to have some work this month, Black History Month, or last month during Black History Month, where the middle schools did one book, two schools, one book, they read Clean Getaway. And they've been working to do that, as you can see there in a circle, and being able to connect with one another, and create those spaces of belonging as we talked about. If you click again, you'll see there a picture of a window down at Kennerly, where we had throughout the month of February, walk a mile in someone else's shoes, where students could be able to understand, through books and through hearing and reading about other people's experiences, what it's like to be someone else. Because oftentimes we can learn from other people, and learning and getting that perspective, like we talked about, validating that perspective can be really huge. So finally, on this slide, you'll see, again, one of the things that I try to live by is that I see and I appreciate differences in people, and I find ways to make these unique qualities positive rather than negative. On to the next slide. We'll see over down at Crestwood, we actually had some work again around Black History Month. All the doors in Crestwood were decorated, and students were able to learn about Black leaders and people who have influenced work throughout history in the Black community and in our American community, exemplifying and remembering the Black history that is American history. You'll see another slide there of Black authors and illustrators, again, from our work over at Crestwood this year, and kind of work that they've been doing to honor and to dignify the voices of Black individuals. And kind of a quote that I feel like closes this all out: in the absence of love and belonging, there will always be suffering. We have to create spaces where students are loved, where they can feel like they belong. When we don't do that, we don't honor that is important, that they are important, and that it matters to be able to feel like you belong. And I'll close with that. We've got a couple of questions. Um, we have a question there that says, can you please define the word to affirm? I think to affirm means to accept someone else's words without a question. I think that in order to be able to, affirm, someone else's being, their dignity, is really important. And so when I think of the affirm, that's what I think of. Being able to not say, I question this, yes, but, or yeah, I agree with that, but this is a piece I also think. And so just being able to recognize something and not have to question it. How are students given a voice in the work around belonging? It's a really good question. I think that our students are given a voice in that we really allow them an opportunity to create the belonging. And so that's a lot of the work that we'll actually be doing over the next few years in working with John Crown-Apple and Floyd Cobb, is that we're developing what this looks like and how we will measure it. One of the best measurements I think of that is really that question of how do we make sure that students feel like they have a voice, and that voice they explain it through, generally, honestly, probably a survey is really the best example I could give. And so making sure that our students have an opportunity to, answer a survey and talk about how they see belonging happening in their schools. That's probably the best example I can give you for how we will make sure that we have that happening in our schools. Yes. So another question that's here is the question of how this work will be implemented with our special school district partners and making sure that it's not a silo. And that's, yes, they are incorporated in this work. And so that group that we talked about, our counselors, our administrators, that includes our special school district staff has been invited as part of that team to develop that work over the last few years. And they will be part of those cohorts moving forward, where they will be trained as well on this idea of what is our work around belonging, and how do we make sure that students are treated with dignity. And that goes for all of our students. It doesn't matter what they look like. It doesn't matter what they bring to the table. Every one of our students deserves to feel like they belong. Every one of our students deserves to be treated with dignity. And so that's what our work will be around, is making sure that it is not siloed. It is something that we truly allow for our students to be able to feel like they have it, because it's part of what everyone deserves. There's a question that says, does the curriculum allow for students to take on an identity and perspective different from their own? Whew, that's a great question. And I think we should always be thinking about that. Yeah, that was really, they were admiring the walking a mile in someone else's shoes. It really is important that we do that. I tell everybody who I come across, I can only see the world through my personal perspective. Dr. Lawson can only see the world through her personal perspective. And so that's what I love so much about making sure that we bring multiple people to the table and bring multiple perspectives to the table, because that's the only way we will grow. That's the only way we will learn. And so I definitely see value in doing that. I know our curriculum certainly does definitely look at perspectives and identities different than their own. If we look at our community, I mean, let's be real, our community is a majority white. And so if you are not white, then you are looking at other examples of different races and different experiences, different perspectives, then you are in doing that, you are learning about other people and other perspectives. And so, yes, I would say that definitely does happen. And I would say that it's vital. I think it has to happen in order for us to be, good people who can see the world through lenses other than our own, and who can honor and validate other people. And that's really important. I don't see anything else in the Q&A right now. Thank you I got to thank you for this time, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all a little bit about why belonging matters. It is vital. It is important to our success. And I look forward to seeing it grow in our schools and allowing our students to be able to experience it, and our staff as well. And the same for you in our community. So thank you all.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I hope you have a great night, and we are glad to follow up with any questions in the future, and we will continue to provide updates as we work through our inclusion, equity, and diversity work. And we're just happy to answer any questions and be here throughout this process for you. So thank you so much for your time tonight.